let's hypothetically say Cubs don't get Alex Bregman. Third base is yours on opening day. Some athletes, I feel like they crumble under that, and some thrive in it. Where do you put yourself in that kind of pressure?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. Obviously,
Cool.
I would love that. Being able to let go of everything that's going on, and just kind of move on day to day, I think is the best way to kind of deal with all the pressure, the failure, whatever may come.
Matt Shaw, I'm excited to have you on, man. It's I know we kind of went back and forth on a time, but you're here, and I'm excited to chat with you, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Hey, so I got to start it off because I talked to Moises Ballesteros about a month ago, and he told me that he's taught you some phrases in Spanish, and he wouldn't divulge any good ones. All he said was, "I taught him how to say hello and how are you," and I was like, I bet you there's some better ones. So, what's your favorite phrase that you're allowed to say that he's taught you?
That's a good question. Yeah, I've been learning Spanish for actually a while now, maybe five,
Nice.
6 years. A favorite phrase. I don't really have a favorite phrase. I mean, I don't have a favorite phrase in English either. Um, so I'm not really sure,
Do you
you
guys
know.
talk pretty well with each other? Like, do you know Spanish well enough to have a good conversation with him?
I wouldn't say a good conversation, but I'd say a conversation for sure.
Okay. His
Um,
English isn't bad. He doesn't give himself enough credit.
yeah, his English is good. His
Yeah,
English is good. I mean, when you're surrounded by it all the time, I mean, you don't really have a choice. You have to learn, So they've done a good job. He's done good. Yeah.
awesome. Awesome, man. Hey, listen, you've got no social media, and I think a lot of people at this point know that. The question I have is, have you ever had any social media, anything at all?
Yeah, yeah. I had social media up until my freshman year of college.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
why the change?
so, uh, I mean, I always kind of wasn't sure of it. Oh, I got my puppy over there. Cause I always wasn't sure of it, and then freshman year of college was when I realized, like, yeah, I think it's time for me to walk away from social media. So it wasn't like a super thought out plan. It was just, I don't really think this is beneficial. I'm not super interested in general in the social media stuff. I'll delete it, walk away. Cool.
What was it, just like a distraction? Did you feel going into college like you just had more on your plate and you just had to zero in, or what was that moment when you were like, yeah, this isn't really benefiting me anymore?
Yeah, definitely a distraction. You go on like your screen time, whatever, and you look and it's like 3 hours scrolling on whatever. And it's like 3 hours? Like that's a long time.
That's a
I mean,
light day for most people.
yeah, which is right. Nowadays it's light. So, I mean, if I thought to myself, like, if I'm spending 3 hours of my 24-hour day, well, I'm really only awake for 15 hours or whatever. I'm spending, a fifth of it, 20% on social media. That's a lot of time, So, uh, when you look at it that way and you start to, I'm sure the numbers now are even higher than that. It's like, wow, damn, is this
Yeah.
really the good usage of my time? 3 hours a day on social media. So yeah, I mean, long story short, it was kind of an easy decision to say, well, this isn't good, so I'll just walk away.
I saw a reel. Of course, I'm going to talk about Instagram as soon as we talk about this, but it was really eye opening because this guy basically mapped out, like, here's how many months you have in your entire life, and it didn't. And he had each month was represented by a circle, and it didn't look like that many circles. He said it came out to be just over like 800 to 900 circles, and each represented this month. And he took out how many are going to be dedicated to work, how many are going to be dedicated to your sleep, how many are going to be dedicated to your family. And then he got to this point where he's like, hey, and if you're under the age of 25, here's what they expect you to be dedicated in terms of months of scrolling on social media. And it would, bro, it was like 200 months. That's over like 25% of your life, essentially. And so, like, that's scary, man. Like, to think about that. And I mean, kudos to you for like nipping it in the bud right away.
Yeah, no, I mean I've never heard that, but that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Um, so yeah, no, that's definitely not the best usage of time for sure.
Yeah. So, is there anything at all that you miss from not having a social media account?
Really not at all. I mean, ever since I got rid of it, from kind of that day forward, um, I really had nothing that I missed about social media.
It's cool.
You know, other than like the small and quick updates on like sports news, when you don't have social media, you're really not missing out on as much as you think you would be,
Mhm.
and so that was nice, refreshing to be like, well, you know, it's really not a big deal. I'm getting all my sports news other ways and etc. So it's like, I didn't really feel like I was missing much realistically.
Cool. Uh, Couple questions before we get into your Cubs stuff and what's gonna be coming up this year, but you're from Massachusetts. Were you a Red Sox fan growing up?
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, your swing reminds me and the way that you play the game reminds me a lot of Dustin Pedroia. So was he your
Mhm.
favorite growing up?
Yeah, he was my favorite. Swing wise, I couldn't say that I ever tried to imitate his swing. Maybe we swing similarly. You know, I might not necessarily see the resemblance, but I definitely the way he played the game, how he went about his business and stuff like that, I thought was really cool. So, yeah, he was. I was a big fan of Pedroia growing up.
Nice.
Nice.
I think when I say, like, he reminds me of you, it's more of the fact of, like, it's that compact swing that stays in the zone a really long time, and it's that gap to gap kind of hitter. Like, is that how you? I know. I think your junior year at Maryland, like you hit the most home runs of any player in the history of Maryland. If I read that correctly, but I mean, would you even call yourself a home run hitter? It feels like whenever I see the highlights, it's more of like gap to gap and thinking right side a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely consider myself someone who hits home runs. Last year, unfortunately, playing in Double A, not unfortunately, but playing in Double A, using the minor league baseballs. The minor league balls don't spin nearly like the major league balls do.
Yeah.
And once you're around them a lot, you'll realize that very quickly. So I think like just the lack of spin and exit velos with the minor league baseballs. If you look around the league, guys who hit 25 plus homers in Double A or below. Granted, there's a few fields that maybe have a little bit to do with it, but overall, if you hit more than 25 homers and you were not in AAA, you probably have some crazy pop. Because
Wow.
those balls don't fly. Those balls don't fly like the college baseballs. Those balls don't fly like the MLB balls. I don't even know where they're getting the minor league balls. But overall, I'd say, I'd say I'm definitely someone who, hits home runs, gap to gap, as well as is the approach. The approach is never to hit a home run. But I always hope I have that ability to hit home runs. Yeah.
I I think I want to sit on that for a second because, in your first 55-ish games at Double A to start the year this last year, I think a lot of Cubs fans were like, "Whoa, like you lit the world on fire in 2023, got right up to Double A, you were killing it." And then like we kind of all expected like, "Hey, he's just going to do the same thing in 24," and then got off to a slow start. Was a lot of that because of the ball? And if so, how did you adjust or what was the adjustment that you made to kind of turn things back on?
Yeah, definitely not because of the ball.
Okay.
The ball might have a little effect on a few feet, maybe 10, 20 feet extra, some better exit velos overall. And that was more to say, like the guys who hit some home runs in Double A, which we played against a few who had a lot. Those guys have a lot of power. But the struggle was, it was a little bit mechanically on the offensive side. Approach for me has always been very consistent. Made some subtle adjustments, but the big thing was I had trained all spring training for off-speed pitches, so my
Mm,
swing plane became a little bit what we call underplane, which means the barrel is just a little bit below the plane of the ball. I mean, not
okay.
something super complicated. So I crushed breaking balls the first month and whatever of the season, and then when people started figuring out that I was looking for breaking balls, they just started throwing me fastballs, and So it took me some time to get back over playing, to get back and stop swinging and missing as much as I was. And that was just an adjustment that I needed to make, along with a couple other small mechanical adjustments. But overall, it was a nice learning process because I'm never going to make that mistake again of going into a season just training for off speed pitches. Something that
Sure.
was something I needed to learn, but at the same time, hitting the fastball is and always will be, one of the best ways to see guys that are successful. A lot of the best hitters in the MLB hit fastballs really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about this adjustment that you had to make, was that something that was brought to you by someone on the coaching staff, or did you come to that realization on your own?
Yeah, I mean, they knew that I was sitting breaking ball a lot, and then it was clear that people were just going to throw me break fastballs because they knew that I was sitting breaking ball. So that was kind of like a very kind of clear thing that was going on. And then the underplaying, overplaying stuff, our hitting coach Rachel Folden in Double A brought it to my attention. Hey, your barrel's really underplaying. Like, let's get you back on top. Great, we worked on it. Did some velo machine, and then mechanically, I was getting a little bit long per se. So I talked to my hitting coach at Maryland, Matt Swope, and he gave me a few cues to just stay very compact and connected. So that helped a lot as well. That was kind of in maybe beginning of June. So pairing that mechanically with the other slightly mechanical thing, getting back on top, plus the approach wise of making sure I'm looking for the fastball more often, all kind of helped me just to get back on track to where I wanted to be.
That's awesome. Since you mentioned Maryland, some notable guys I didn't realize in the major leagues right now from Maryland: Brandon Lau, Lamont Wade Jr., former Cub Jose Quas. Have you had the chance to talk to any of those guys? Have they come back while you were at Maryland and done any sort of like meet and greet sort of stuff?
Yeah, Lamont's back at Maryland a lot.
Sweet.
He was slow, but I think Lau was just there the other week, but he didn't visit while I was there. But I saw Lamont a lot, and he was awesome. He was a great influence. Obviously, an amazing player, and someone who just keeps getting better every year. So, watching him kind of grow through the minor leagues, major leagues, and just kind of really take off as he has, was really cool to watch. And he's super humble, super quiet, like really nice to be around. So, I like Lamont a lot. Quas was not never visited while I was there, but I got along with him well in the locker room last year.
Cool. That's awesome, man. So, uh, I look at kind of your trajectory through college, and freshman and sophomore year, you had good years, but then you went and played in the Cape Cod League, named MVP, and then you just went off junior year. Was there something? And I would like people to just kind of hear from you, because the Cape Cod League is talked about a lot, but what's so special about the Cape Cod League, and did something click for you while you were there?
Yeah, I mean, what's special about the Cape Cod League is that most of your most talented arms in the country are going to be there, and they know what's on the line. They know that it's a draft stock. It's all the hype around the league. So guys are coming to play. Like it's not a backfield summer game, although some of the fields it may feel like that. But there's 20, 30 scouts at every game watching everyone play. So, it brings that intensity that you may see in a big college game, or you may see even more in the major leagues. But that intensity of like the focus is here, like this is important. So everyone brings their A game, which was a lot of fun. I loved how the wood bats and everything was kind of an even playing field, because in college you have some smaller fields, Maryland being one of them, a smaller field. You have some different types of bats that seem to, some of them nowadays look like people are hitting like 125. I don't even know how. So it's nice in summer ball, especially at the Cape, where like you take all the best talent, minus the USA guys, and then you give them all wood bats, so it's an even playing field, and then you just let them play. And I definitely look forward to that opportunity to play there, having all the everything be even and just have everyone's best stuff against everyone's best stuff. So for me, it was really enjoyable.
Setup Nation, I want to take a quick break so that you know how you can support our channel and wear some cool swag like this. We've teamed up with Obvious Shirts to give you a chance to have your very own Setup Man shirt or hat. Pick from 3 different types of shirts or my personal favorite, the trucker hat. Go to the link in the description of this video and podcast to claim your Setup Man apparel. And thank you so much for supporting our channel. Cool, man. So listen, you've had a really quick climb and now there's a lot of hype around maybe even you being on the opening day roster, maybe even being in the opening 9 when that lineup comes out from Craig Counsell in Tokyo. But before we kind of talk about that, have you been, is this meeting your expectations of like, I expected to crack the team opening day 2025? Was that a goal you set out for yourself, or is this moving faster than you ever expected?
I mean, every year you go into spring training, you hope to make a team. That's always the goal. Even last year, knowing that that was, you know, probably not in the cards, but still, you still have that mindset going in. You're trying to make a team, win a job out of spring. So, um, you know, this year, again, same goal, is obviously to try and make a team. You can feel that it's different, that there's maybe some more opportunity than necessarily in years past for me personally, which is extremely exciting. That's all you could ask for. But overall, yeah, I mean, the goal, of course, is to make a team, to be in a position where, you can have an impact on the team, so you can win games, you can win playoff games, you can have a good season. I think that's obviously what's the goal for all of us as a group is to be able to win and be able to be successful. So, my job, just like anybody else on the team's job, is how am I going to make the team better? How am I going to be a person who brings us towards that goal of winning more games? So, that's my responsibility and I have to be ready for that, but something I definitely look forward to.
After going through your first spring training last year, and now we're, basically 4 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting, what's different this year from what you learned about spring training last year that's helped you to prepare for 2025?
Yeah, I mean, a big difference is I know more guys. I have more friendships and more relationships, which is awesome. Obviously, I feel a lot more comfortable having those friendships and relationships, being able to talk to guys, feeling comfortable asking questions and stuff like that. So that's exciting. I think we have a lot of really good guys on this team that just worked out that way. And so that's obviously really exciting for a young guy like me. So, little tidbits going into this year that I didn't have last year. Well, there's little things you pick up here and there, but that's more of like little tidbits on how to be a better player in general than I would say something that I have every year going into spring training. But this as spring is for young guys like me is it's a tryout. I'm trying to make a team. Other guys, young guys, are trying to make a team. So we know that going in, it's not like a build up as much as, that would be nice. It's you go in and you're trying to impress coaches, front office, etc. with the way
Yeah.
you play. So, that's kind of the bottom line for us young guys. So we got to go out there, be ready to play and impress.
Was there a guy last year at spring that, is a significant position player on the Cubs right now, or a significant pitcher that you maybe made a relationship with that, you could say was impactful for you in your first year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of guys that were impactful while I was in the locker room,
Okay,
during spring last year, like Nico,
nice.
Dansby, Michael Bush, even PCA. A lot of guys that were really impactful while I was there. Just kind of helped me get my footing, kind of how this works. Making sure that I had some people to talk to and stuff like that, which is great.
Was
Uh,
there anything that Nico or Dansby gave as advice that has stuck with you today?
um, Not necessarily advice. We talked about fielding and different stuff. They like to kind of push through balls in the infield. So I guess if I had to say advice on the field, that would be one. But one thing that I always noticed from Nico was that he was always there, probably within one of the first or first few players that showed up to the park every day. Um, and that was something that I really respected, in him that he did. So that was something that I definitely felt, was important to me this year, was making sure that I was, at least one of those guys who's there um, earlier than, the group for sure. And just being there and being ready. And so that's something that I'll take into this spring.
So let's talk some real stuff now. As Cubs fans, we start putting pieces together. We start seeing where things are falling into place, and we start to see, hey, there's a vacancy at third base there. Matt Shaw's been getting a lot of time at third base. And then you start hearing about the Alex Bregman rumors, of course. And so there's still like some missing things that may happen before spring training actually starts. But there's also a feeling right now that you're going to play a major role, whether it be third base, second base, super utility, some sort of version of a major player in 2025 for the Cubs. Has Jed, has Craig, has anyone reached out to you to give you any sort of like, hey, yes, like those rumors that you're hearing about you being a big player in 25, we're hoping that's the case too. And we just need to see X, Y, and Z from you to make that a true thing. So has there been any sort of conversations like that? Or are you just going into spring training saying, I'm just going to give it my all and see what the hell happens?
Yeah, definitely no conversations of the sort.
Okay.
It's just, I think that's just the nature of how it goes. As much as it would be nice for any player to hear things like that. But I don't think that's necessarily true. Because the fact of the matter is, it's up to me to perform, to earn that spot. So to say that, I'm in a position where I'm going to have an impact, may be true, may not be true. But I think, most importantly, all they can tell me is, hey, you got to perform. You have to perform in spring. You have to perform in the season. You have to play good defense. You have to, be a good base runner, be a good teammate, et cetera, et cetera. And, I don't think that they feel as though I don't know that information. So, I think if all goes well and I do those things, which obviously I have my own beliefs and what I can do, then yeah, I feel as though that's something that can be definitely very true. That my role hopefully will be a big impact on the team because obviously the bigger impact I have, the better I'm playing, and that's good for everybody. So yeah, I'm no, I don't have any conversations of the sort.
Okay.
But I think as much as fans know and as much as I know, I think it's clear that um, there's an opportunity there right now. For a lot of guys, me, Gage, Workman, Ben Cowles, um, Nikki, who we just signed over from the White Sox, and so there's guys there. There's guys that are hungry, ready to go out there and play good baseball. And I think at the end of the day, whoever performs best is going to play. And yeah.
What's your expectation for yourself when that final 26-man roster is called? Are you expecting to be on the team? Is it black and white like that for you that it's going to be a failure of a spring training if you don't make the roster?
Well, it's black and white in the sense that yes, of course, that in my mind, my goal is to make it on the 26-man roster. Does that mean that it would be a failure if I wasn't? No, of course not. I'd know that if I didn't make it, that I just am going to have a couple, however long, to continue to grow and become a better player. So when I get there. If I do make it, that would be amazing. So obviously in my mind, it's yes, make the team. But that being said, no, if I go to Iowa, or I go to Iowa, and that's the way it's going to be. So either way, I hope that I'll have the opportunity to play a role, whether it's the first 3 weeks, first 8 weeks or not. If I'm in Iowa, then so be it. And you still hopefully come up and play a role for the team when your time is called. And I think when that opportunity comes, whether it's the start of the season or not, I'm going to be ready for it, and I'm very excited about it.
So I don't think there's any secret here. Rachel Folden told me this. A lot of experts talk about this. The gap between AAA and the majors is bigger than ever. Um, and then there's also this other side of like, hey, giving first year guys a comfortable place to not only succeed, but also a comfortable place to fail. Craig Counsell talks about a lot. I expect you to basically just like not be successful when you first come up to the majors. So let's hypothetically say Cubs don't get Alex Bregman this offseason. Third base is yours on opening day, and basically the runway is yours to make it yours, to own it, to be the third baseman for the Cubs for this year and many years to come. Does that type of pressure, um, some athletes, I feel like they crumble under that, and some thrive in it. Where do you put yourself in that kind of pressure?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. Obviously,
Cool.
I would love that. I think part of it is that, I think the pressure thing for me is kind of priorities. That's what it comes down to. Like I'm a religious guy. I'm Christian. I believe in God, and I have a great relationship with my fiance, and have a great family, and those are extremely important to me. So I can walk away from an 0 for 4 at the field and not have that stay with me into my night routine,
Sure.
not have that stay with me into my sleep. And I think that's vital for any baseball player. And I think that's, one of the main ways that players do handle pressure is being able to let go of everything that's happening so it doesn't spiral. So, of course I'll be nervous and have nerves. I have nerves every game I play from little league up until now, spring train, whatever it is. And that's, that's normal. Um, so yeah, I'll take those nerves in stride because, they haven't affected me, this far in my career anyways. It's just part of the game, so but being able to kind of walk away from the game, whether it's the morning or the nighttime, being able to let go of everything that's going on, and just kind of move on day to day, I think is the best way to kind of deal with all the pressure, the failure, whatever may come. And I'm excited for that. Of course, I'm going to have days where that stink. I'll go for 4 or make an error or whatever it may be. But the bottom line is we play 162 games, and that's a lot of games.
It's a
And,
lot.
if we lose a game, it's not like we're not making it into the playoffs if we lose one game. And that's a blessing about baseball is that it's a lot easier to go from one day to the next. You don't have a week to mull it over. It's not football. This isn't we don't play 18 games. So, I think that's all that being said. I'm definitely someone who's extremely excited for all those pressures because it makes an exciting game. It makes a really exciting, really focused, just kind of really energetic game, and that's something I look forward to.
Awesome. Got one more question for you, and then we'll go to some fan questions and rapid firing and wrap this thing up. Second base versus third base, man. You got drafted as a middle infielder, and now the opportunity in the organization is to be the third baseman, at least for now. What has that transition been like? What adjustments have you had to make? And of course, the big thing that a lot of scouts and the experts say is the biggest concern is, does Matt Shaw have the throwing arm for third base? The highlights don't concern me at all, but that continues to be brought up. So how do you react to that kind of criticism, I guess you would call it?
Yeah, I mean, it started off second base versus third base. Um, Much more comfortable at third base, only because I've been, training at third base now for, almost 2 years.
When you say
Uh,
much more comfortable with third base, you mean versus second base, or just much more comfortable with third
yeah,
base?
yeah, versus second base.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Okay,
yeah. At
cool.
this point, I'm not to say I'm not comfortable at second base. Obviously, a different, unique position, but the way the ball's spinning off the bat, stuff like that. I mean, at this point, having 80, maybe 100 games under my belt at third, plus 2 full off seasons of training, specifically at third. I feel very comfortable there.
Nice.
So that's for me. That's I would have said that a month ago or 2 months ago, or even in the season, that I do feel most comfortable at third, just because that's what I've been training. And I spent a lot of time training at third base. The arm strength stuff, for me, it's really exciting, because as much as I'd like to believe that the scouts or whatever are at every game, the truth is they're not.
Okay.
So it gives me a great opportunity, I think, to spend a lot of time working on arm strength and arm accuracy and arm action and stuff like that. And I think it gives me a pretty big runway to show people something that's maybe different than the narrative that everybody hears. So for me, it's even more exciting. Expectations are very low, as you might read. So it's going to be awesome. So I'll have the opportunity, hopefully to continue to show this my arm strength and how that's grown and arm action and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to this year. Obviously, playing in the major leagues has a lot more metrics than the minor leagues. So a lot of things might get groomed out that weren't necessarily easy access information before.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool, man. That's good news to hear. I think a lot of Cubs fans actually, if you ask them, they would think that you would have said the other way around. I think they would have thought that second base was your more comfortable position. So that's cool to hear, man. All right, let's get to know a little bit more about you in our rapid fire from the 27th out. I got looks like 6 or 7 questions here. Just the first thing that comes to mind. Movie that you could watch on replay and it never gets old.
Get smart.
Okay, that's good. I wouldn't have expected that one. That's good. Favorite meal?
Chicken parm.
Ooh, good. My mom makes a great chicken parm. I love it. Finish this sentence. While my friends are scrolling on social media, I'm
Um, Hanging out with my fiance at a coffee shop reading the Bible.
very nice. By the way, I gave Ben Brown some crap. All of you guys in the minors, like you're all getting married before 25 in the Cubs organization. There's so many of you. It's
That's
crazy.
true. That's really true.
What's your go-to pregame music?
Honestly, I don't really listen to any music pregame. I kind of just hang.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
then when you're just in the car.
Probably country slash house music slash maybe some Christian music, maybe some kind of 2010s hip hop pop music.
Nice. You're all over the place. I like it.
Yeah.
One quirk or superstition that you have during each game.
Ooh, gosh, I'm not superstitious at all, but a quirk, something I do that's kind of funny. I don't know if I call it a quirk, but it's probably the closest that I'm gonna get. Before every at bat, like I look at a really small dot on my bat, and I just like helps my eyes to kind of relax and focus. And I do that pretty much before every at bat. So
I
quirk,
like it. I
quirk.
think that's some version of like what Ian Happ does. He looks in the helmet, or he used to do that at least. I don't know if he still does it. Best professional baseball moment so far.
Um, Gosh, probably probably winning the Southern League championship. Um, First year in Double A. That was just like such a whirlwind between the draft and going to play, and then winning the championship. Like even though I contributed very little to like the team throughout the season, I was only there for a month or so. Um, it was still like awesome because like you could see how not only excited everybody was, but like how much relief like winning that championship and how amazing
Cool.
that felt for everybody. So that was cool.
I didn't get to ask about it before, but was the Premier League this last off season? Has that been one of your top moments as well?
Yeah, gosh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that was great too. I mean, Tokyo was obviously a really unique experience. The bronze medal was amazing. We would have loved to win gold. So,
Cool.
so
Good, man. Last question. Favorite sport outside of baseball?
Definitely soccer.
Okay. Who's
I
your
grew up
team?
playing soccer. I don't watch a lot of soccer,
Okay.
so I guess favorite sport. I was thinking favorite sport to play. Favorite sport to watch, probably football.
Nice. You
Favorite
got a
sport to
dog in the
play.
fight for this Sunday?
No dogs in the fight. No, my dog has been out for a long time. So the Patriots are not.
Patriots? Oh man, that used to be a good team to root for.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
all right, Matt Shaw, I super appreciate your time, brother, and I'm just happy that Cubs fans were able to get to know a little bit about you before the start of this season. So thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.